This is the RV Advisor Podcast with your host, Tom Alexander. Get all the latest information, trends, advice from experts, stories from the road, and more in the world of recreational vehicles. Now, here's Tom.
Welcome to the RV Advisor Podcast. My name is Tom Alexander, and joining me today, very excited to have with us from RV4CampfireFamily. It's Woody Faircloth. Hey, Woody.
Hey, Tom. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you? How's everything in Denver?
Denver's fantastic.
Yeah, this is a really very interesting organization and a charity that you've created, RV4CampfireFamily. Tell us a little bit about how that runs. What was the origin, and also tell us about the day-to-day activities.
Sure. So just over a year ago, Thanksgiving, my 6-year-old daughter and I was kind of looking at her. She's a high-energy little kid, and she had the week off of school, and I had a week off of work. I work for Comcast during the day in institutional sales. And I was trying to figure out what to do with her. And at the same time, we were kind of following the fires that were going on out in California, in particular the Camp Fire. All wildfires have a name, and this was named after where the fire origin was. It was Camp Creek Road, so they named it the Camp Fire. But we were following that story on the news, and I saw a little story somewhere about a guy who was able to, he had said he was able to start the RV up on the side of his house and drive it away from the fire, and if he just needed one small part, and he would be all set on housing. And it just occurred to me at that moment, there were 50,000 newly homeless people in that area due to the fire. Over 50 first responders had lost their homes, and it just occurred to me when I saw that story, it's like, what a no-brainer. There are RVs seemingly everywhere. Surely we can find one and drive it out there over Thanksgiving and give it to, hopefully a first responder or a family who had lost their home in the fire, so they had a place to go for Thanksgiving. So that was the origins of the idea, and I ended up emailing pretty much everyone selling a motorhome that looked like we could possibly drive it to California from Denver, and told them what we were doing, asked them if they'd be willing to donate or discount their RV. And one guy got back to me, and he sold us a motorhome for $2,500, and so we bought it. We started a GoFundMe. We hopped in it the day before Thanksgiving, and we started driving to California.
Boy, and how long did it take you to get everything out to the location in California?
Well, it took us a couple days. I think we spent 2 nights during that trip. That was my first time and my daughter's first time ever in a motorhome or RV before, so we were brand new at it, and I was a little intimidated by the weather on the most direct route through Salt Lake City, and so we ended up going down through Las Vegas and up the Central Valley of California. So it took us about 2.5 days to get out there.
And when you did arrive, the reaction had to be one of just being astounded. I would imagine that doing this kind of a thing. Tell us a little bit about that moment.
Well, it was quite an adventure for us, and we were having a good time, like I think a lot of people do when they're out in their RV, kind of traveling across the U.S. and just really kind of enjoying that part of it. And when we got there, I thought it would be high fives and hugs, and we've done our good deed, and my daughter needs to get back to school Monday, and I need to get back to work. But we saw what was really happening out there, and I was just blown away. I mean, it was apocalyptic. I mean, there were the entire town burned down. I mean, 15,000 structures, and so people not only lost their homes, but they also lost their jobs because all the businesses burned to the ground as well. And it was just, Tom, it was people like you and me just in total desperation, camping in tents and sleeping in their cars and just not knowing which way was up. The fire was still kind of active in the area, and so there were 5,000 firefighters at the campground. And it was just kind of, I was blown away by what was happening. And at the same time, I had people start contacting us because they saw our story in the media saying, hey, I've got, one guy contacted me and said, I've got 2 RVs I can give to you. I just need a charitable deduction letter so I can write it off on my taxes. And I didn't really know what that was all about, but right about that time, an attorney from Denver called me, and he said, hey, I'm happy to provide you any legal support you need. I love what you're doing. And so I said, well, call this guy back. And the attorney ended up filing our 501c3 paperwork that day. And we've just kind of been able to create a model where if somebody donates their RV to us, we can give them the full appraised value in terms of charitable donation letter that they can write off on their taxes, and then when we donate it to someone who lost their home, we donate it to them for $1, so they don't have to pay a ton of taxes on it. And we got all that checked out with the IRS, and everybody wins. So we just kind of stumbled on a model that, since last Thanksgiving, we've delivered 75 RVs to families who lost their homes. It's just been amazing.
Wow, 75 RVs. And it's been about a year now, right? Just a little over a year, right?
Yeah, just a little over a year. And it's amazing, Tom, that there's still people out there. I mean, we were out just a couple of weeks ago, and we pulled a guy who had been sleeping in a tent for the last 9 months just to be near his two sons who were living with their mom just outside of the burn scar area. And when you've been living in a tent for just a few days, much less 9 months, moving into we were able to get him a travel trailer. It's really, I can't even describe the feeling of being able to hand over the keys and title to someone like that who could really use a break.
Yeah, and what has your daughter's reaction been to this?
On our first trip, I asked her, I said, "Hey, honey, what do you think about doing this?" And she just got a little gleam in her eye, and she said, "Dad, God and Santa Claus are going to be really proud of us." And I think she was right about that.
Yeah, that's great. Wow, what a great reaction. It is amazing. They say, we've heard this before, but you just see the very best in people. Look for the people doing good. Look for, in these kinds of crises, and you see it, and what a wonderful thing that you and your daughter did with obviously the best of intention, but probably had no idea that it would grow into something like this.
No idea. And, the name, RV4CampfireFamily, we had created a Gmail address, RV4CampfireFamily@gmail.com, and I just posted a note on one of the relief Facebook groups out there that were telling people where to evacuate and how to get services and the like, and because we had planned just to give one RV to one family, and my phone just melted, and at one point we had 800 families on our waiting list for transitional housing in the form of an RV or motorhome, and we've whittled that down to we still have 150 or so families on our waiting list, and one of the challenges now is that people received rather modest settlements from FEMA and their insurance companies. A lot of people didn't have insurance, and that money's run out, and so there's a whole new kind of wave of people who are just have nowhere to go. And the settlements weren't enough for people to rebuild in a lot of cases. So a lot of the people that we've donated to are living on their lots as they try to figure out how to rebuild their homes and lives there in paradise. Yeah,
and it's an ironic name for a town in that situation. When you think about it, we think of paradise as one thing, right? And then what happened there certainly couldn't be further from the truth.
I was going to say, Tom, I'm relatively new to this RV community that you know and love so well. I've learned a lot in the last year about gray water and black water and the difference between a travel trailer and a fifth wheel. And I kind of have been forced to become a bit of an expert, but still don't know as much as you. But I've just been overwhelmed at the RV community, how they've responded. I mean, we've had so many folks come to us and say, "Hey, I just want to help, and if you could match me up with a family." We had a municipal city bus driver in Providence, Rhode Island, who had driven a bus for 35 years, and the day he retired, he drove a fifth wheel from Providence, Rhode Island to Paradise, California, and gave it to a family that needed some help. So it's just been amazing, the RV community, how they've responded to this.
Well, Woody, I'm learning right along with you because I'm a broadcaster first, a writer and a broadcaster, and so I'm believe it or not, I'm relatively new to this RV universe myself, but I love learning about it from all kinds of folks, and this is an unusual show for us because like you said at the top, you're relatively new to the RV world, but look at what you've done with an RV, with RVs plural. So much good has come out of it. We're going to take a really quick break, Woody, and we'll be back in just a moment. This is the RV Advisor Podcast. Stay tuned. The most experienced RV traveler knows it's important to expect the unexpected. Trust the RV Advisor Roadside Assistance Plan, starting at just $99 per year. It's the industry's most affordable plan and offers the most value compared to competitors, covering RVs, towed vehicles, personal vehicles, horse trailers, bike trailers, and more. Visit the RVadvisor.com or call 833-229-0911. The RV Advisor Roadside Assistance Plan. Don't hit the road without it. Back on the RV Advisor podcast, my guest today is Woody Faircloth of RV4CampfireFamily. And along with his daughter, created something really from nothing. It really began with a tragic event in California and grew into something incredible. And it continues to grow today as more RVs are going to the area of Paradise, California. And let me ask you, Woody, coordinating these moves with all the RVs getting to these folks out there, and then you say that you're also full-time employee. You know, how's the balance work for you? How do you manage it all?
Well, that's a great question, and you know, I kind of quit trying to figure all that out very early on in the process. I kind of felt like, I went to Sunday school and church when I was a kid, but I wouldn't call myself a super religious person. But very quickly I realized that God was involved in this process and kind of showed us the way, and he just had people show up at the right times. We had a woman who raised her hand early in the process and said, a friend of mine from Boulder, Colorado, and she said, "Hey, I see what you're doing. I love it. I can build a database for you and some intake forms." So if someone emails us at RV4CampfireFamily@gmail.com, the out of office message that goes back to them, there's an RV donation intake form that we get the information that we need from a prospective RV donor, and that feeds a database, and we're able to contact them based on that information. It just keeps everything kind of organized for us. It's all automated, and we have a similar form for wildfire survivors that they can fill out, a family intake form, so we know who we're dealing with, and we can kind of prioritize, who has the greatest need and who the next RV goes to. So I've just been really blessed with people kind of like the attorney and like my friend from Boulder, who just raised their hands right at the right time and kind of made it impossible for us to turn our backs on these people. If we've been blessed with this platform to be able to help, and I think in these situations that people want to help, they often just don't know how to help. Mm-hmm. And I'm also convinced a lot of times, people with RVs, they want to maybe upgrade their RV or they're not using as much as they would thought, and they're having a hard time selling it. We created a way where they can get the full value of their RV by donating it to us, and we're going to put it right to use by somebody who could really use, a break. And shelter is such a basic need. It's just such it's a thrill, and I feel honored to be the one to be able to hand off these amazing donations to people who need something as basic as shelter. It's something else.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that it's such a basic need, and I think all of us who have the good fortune to either have a home or maybe they live in an RV full time or whatever it is, you may have a bad day at the office, or you just may have a bad day in general, but you think, well, at the end of the day, I'm still getting into my bed at night and I have a roof over my head. And maybe we don't always think about that. We don't always think about exactly what it is that we all have. And then when it's gone and you have no place to hang your hat, no roof over your head, it's just got to be shattering.
It's unbelievable, Tom. And, I think you think about this homelessness issue, and it's a kind of a bigger issue, and there are a lot of things that kind of drive into that. But these are people like us that had full-time jobs. We put a married couple that were both veterans and college professors at Butte College because they wanted to come back and be there for their students, when the semester started in January. We've placed multiple nurses, first responders, just regular people, Purple Heart recipient. It's unbelievable the families that fall through the cracks that you would never expect to, and you're absolutely right. If you wake up and able to go to your home and see your family and kids and your pets, that's just such a blessing. And I think we often take it for granted, but I personally never will after seeing people just like us who lost everything they owned in an instant.
Yeah, it's almost like in some ways, people who serve our country, and then they perhaps they see action, and it changes forever their perception of war, of battle, And, they may have had a preconceived notion of what it might have been like until they really see it. They can't really truly know. And in a situation like this, where you think about, boy, I'm glad I have a roof over my head, but then when it really happens and you're right in it, it probably is nothing like you could have imagined. It's just got to be something. And the fact that and I should add that really, for both the person that it's happening to and the people that are helping those people, it's got to be an eye-opening experience and a life-changing experience. How has this changed your life?
Well, I am a single parent, and I'd never done anything really philanthropic like this before, and I just kind of woke up and wanted to teach my youngest and my older kids, just the power of being kind to someone. I had no idea how much it would absolutely change my life. I mean, I've been in telecom for 30 years, and I've never felt the kind of satisfaction in helping someone. I mean, it is the most meaningful thing you'll ever do in your life when you help someone with no expectation of anything in return. It is absolutely life-changing. I mean, it's changed my perspective forever, and I can't imagine not doing this work. And I think we've kind of stumbled onto a model that is sustainable. And any time there's a housing emergency and transitional housing situation that's needed. I was watching that Hurricane Dorian as it ravaged the Bahamas. If it had gone 100 miles west, that would have been a huge need for housing in Florida. And
so we were watching it here, and we were all on pins and needles here in South Florida, and we were very lucky, but not so lucky for our brothers and sisters just 70 miles away.
Very true. I tell you, but what it really kind of, I think, demonstrated to me is I want to find a way to do this for the rest of my life, because helping people like this is just amazing.
Yeah.
And it's just clearly there's an opportunity to do that. And the FEMA and the big traditional relief organizations, they do amazing work and they serve the masses, if you will. We've just been shocked by how many people are standing there with no access to those resources. For whatever reason, they fall through the cracks. I mean, we were able to take a 6-year-old child who had cerebral palsy, and he was on a feeding tube and living in a minivan with his parents after they had lost their home, a couple months after the fire. And to be able to give a family like that shelter like this because of a generous donor, I mean, it's life-changing for me, as well as I think very helpful for that family too.
Woody, if people want to help out, if they're interested in donating, lending their time, learning more about what they can do to help people, tell us the best place to learn about it, where they can go and get involved with RV for Campfire Family. Well,
you're halfway there, because we have a website now, and it's www.RV4CampfireFamily RV, the number 4, CampfireFamily .org,
mm-hmm.
or you can email us at RV, the number 4, CampfireFamily @gmail.com. And if you send us an email, you'll get an out-of-office reply, and it'll have, if you're interested in donating an RV, you just click the donation form. It doesn't commit you to donating it, but at least it creates a record that we can contact you directly once we know what we're dealing with. If you want to volunteer, there's a link there. You can click on volunteer. We've had so many people, and none of this would have been possible if we didn't have people kind of helping us along the way. And if you want to donate your RV and have the kind of experience my daughter and I did, we can match you up with a family. You can drive it out there yourself, or we can come pick it up from you if you'd prefer to be anonymous or not in a position to take it out there yourself. So we're about putting these people in shelter as soon as possible, and we'll make it happen if we've got somebody that wants to help us.
RV, the number 4, CampfireFamily.org. That's where you want to go. Woody, I got to tell you, this has been one of the most enjoyable conversations I've had on this program, and what you did, what you're continuing to do, you and your daughter, is just inspiring and wonderful, and nothing but the best to you in the upcoming year.
You too, Tom. Thanks so much.
This is the RV Advisor Podcast. My name is Tom Alexander. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. So long, everybody.
You've been listening to the RV Advisor Podcast with Tom Alexander. This podcast is produced in association with Studio Alpha and Alexander Productions in Miami. Visit thervadvisor.com for more.